Hi there guys, today's position is the back. We're going to be looking at first understanding the elements of control within the back. Why is the back an advantageous position? If you're a smaller person, you force the person to carry your weight. You're able to have free entry into isolation of limbs such as the neck and the opponent's shoulders and arms, where they don't have the same opportunity to isolate your neck or your limbs for an attack. Starting off with the back position, you need to understand what your end goal is. Whenever you take someone's back, 9 out of 10 times your goal is to finish from that position, be it from a choke or be it from an arm lock or a variation of the two. Controlling the position requires two elements. It requires me to touch the upper half of my chest to their back and my lower half to their lower half. In the process of moving, what a person that has their back taken will do, they will move substantially. If we are not adequately connected or attached to them, we're going to get tossed off. So understanding the back position from an offensive mindset. The first thing is, I've got my feet that connect on the inside of the opponent's hamstrings. These are called your hooks. We then have our arms that can control the upper half and ensure my back is situated flush and connected to the opponent's upper half. Now a seatbelt requires an overhook and an underhook. An underhook is any arm that's coming under the armpit, and overhook is coming over the far shoulder. When I grab, I want my head to be on the underhook side. Okay, my chin must dig into the trap. I want to keep the space nice and tight. I don't want to give them the opportunity to be able to rotate their body off center. Once I lose the flush positioning of my chest to their back with a good jits player, they've already began their escape. My seatbelt grip, my overhook hand is always grabbed by my underhook hand. So my underhook grabs. I make a fist and it grabs over my overhook hand. My chin digging into the trap. In the seatbelt position, few keys. We've made a circle around the waist, which attaches my lower half. We've made a circle around the opponent's chest, like a seatbelt would, coming under an armpit and coming over an armpit. This is a traditional basic setup for back control, keeping it nice and tight. Things to avoid: do not cross your feet, guys, if they're below the opponent's hip line. If they take their feet over your feet and they cross them and they extend their hips, they can submit you in this position. However, crossing your feet in this position does have its place. If I've got my legs higher up, I can cross my feet out of the way of the opponent's legs. I cannot be attacked here. By closing my legs or closing the circle, as it would be, it allows me to have more control of the opponent's hips. So one may have traditional hooks, with the heels digging into the hamstring, the knees applying inward pressure, seatbelt pulling in deep into the opponent's chest, and your knees, ankles, and feet giving that inward tension. I can also cross my feet on one hip, so I've got my right leg over the top of my left, isolating the one leg and keeping it out of harm's way, but also giving me control. I can also cross high up on the opponent's belly, well out of the range of their feet. Body triangle is also something that can be used for control, where we take one leg across, we triangle the leg, and we place our foot underneath the opponent's calf. This is a very strong position known as the body triangle position. Now in the body triangle, the foot can be placed under the calf as it is now, or it can be placed over on the inside. This is also a viable control position. An alternative position of control is by taking the leg and stamping on your own foot, putting pressure on the opponent's hip to control the position. This is also a viable control position. My hands don't have to always be in a seatbelt position. They can also be in what is referred to as the unders or over-unders. Have two different roles. This is an attacking position. This is a control position. Now, we are showing you the back position from a very standardized, balanced, seated position, but no one traditionally in a role under a setting of resistance sits in this position indefinitely. They're either on their back, on their side, or on their knees. So if, say it goes to turtle, if we're in the turtle position, for example, okay, I've got my hooks in, I've got back. If I am too eager to put in a seatbelt and the person tripods up, picks their bum up, very easily thrown over their shoulder. In that case, the double under control in a top turtle position is a viable way to keep the position until the opportunity to submit presents itself. When you're in the back position, you're either going to be put on what is referred to as an overhook side or an underhook side. What are these two sides? With my seatbelt in play, if I fall to the arm that's over the shoulder, we refer to this as falling to the overhook side. My head, remember, is always on the opposite side of the overhook hand. This will be referred to as the overhook side position. Once again, in the overhook side position, the opponent is lying on my overhook hand. This position is ideal for setting up the rear naked choke, which we will get to in the next video. The controls from this position, once again, we want to ensure that the opponent's body is within a sweet spot. They're not all the way down, too low, and nor are they all the way up, too high. I want to have them just so that their shoulder is in line with the top of my chest. Not too high and not too low. I can have what is referred to as the body triangle for control. I can place that same foot on the inside, or I can cross high on the hip or stamp onto my own ankle. All of these positions giving me control of the lower half. Once again, we cannot allow our chest pressure to come off so that the opponent's back shifts out of play. As soon as that body position shifts, we begin to lose the back position. Now, what is the underhook side? If I were to have my underhook hand here and my overhook on the far side, if I fall to the underhook side, we are now in the underhook position of the back, right? The person is laying on my underhook arm. What we're going to be very conscious of here is not allowing the opponent's head to get between your head and the floor. If their head is able to get to the mat, they will be able to rotate their back off our chest and begin their escape. So on the underhook side, once again, if I'm playing the seatbelt, I've got my overhook hand protected by my underhook hand, and I've got my feet either stamping on the top hip, body triangle on the top hip, or X on the top hip. You will avoid ever falling onto your body triangle. If I have a body triangle, I don't want to have the body triangle trapped at the bottom. With a good jits player, he can use this to his advantage and start putting on a calf slice or an ankle crank. So do not fall on the same side as your body lock. You always want to switch it so that your body lock is on the top of the hip. Positions from the top one more time. Seatbelt, overhook, underhook. Underhook grabs the overhook. Chin to the trap, hooks in place. Traditional, body triangle leg on the inside, X on the hip, stamp on your foot. We can also have double unders. We can fall to the underhook side, keeping our head between the opponent's head and the floor. Our feet can either be stamping on the hip, they can be crossed, and we can utilize a body triangle with the foot underneath the calf or on the inside of the opponent's hamstring. And then finally, we have the overhook position. Falling to the overhook hand with the opponent's head resting on your choking arm. Once again, either body triangle, stomp on the hip, X, or body triangle with the leg on the inside. Okay guys, to control the back, ideally you want to have both legs in play, but sometimes you may only have the choice of having one hook on the inside. The most important hook to control is the hook to the side you have fallen. For example, if I've fallen to my right hand side, whether it's an underhook or an overhook, it makes no difference. But if I've fallen to my right hand side, my right hook will suffice for control, even if I'm not able to get the left leg or the outside leg over the top of the opponent's hip. So if I fall to the side that's on the bottom, that bottom hook is the most important. If the opponent doesn't give me the top hook, that's fine, I can still control the position. So if I had just the bottom hook in, I can take my far leg, I can come underneath the opponent's leg, I can cross it, or I can triangle it. As long as I've isolated the bottom side hip, they cannot rotate out. Look what happens if I don't have that bottom hook. So say I've got the top hook, and I fall to that side, right? The opponent can very easily take the hip over your leg, break the connection, and begin to escape from that position. Right guys, when you begin understanding the back, begin with the control. See how each of those different leg positions gives you a different response to the hips. always keep the circle closed for as long as you can around the opponent's waist. Put emphasis on keeping your chest flush on the opponent's back and never raising your head away from them. The less space they have to rotate their back off your chest, the harder it is going to be for them to escape. The harder it is for their hips to rotate out of the control of your legs, the harder it is going to be for them to escape from your back. Guys, play with those. The next video will follow, going through the submissions from the back position. Catch you on the next video. Thank you, sir.